Life Rhythms with Ryan Skyy. Observing the world around me, looking inward, trying to make sense of it all.
Welcome to Life Rhythms Radio Show. I'm your host, Ryan Skyy. Life Rhythms is a radio show that revolves around my personal growth journey. As a DJ and a producer, I spent a lot of my time observing the world around me, looking inward, trying to make sense of it all. I've been doing it in song form, and now I do it on the radio show. Each episode of Life Rhythms, we feature one guest and one song or album, and I choose topics related to the guest's music for us to talk about. I'm excited for today because I have here in the studio with me the Scarlet Opera. Hey guys.
Hello.
I've been wanting to get you guys on the show for months. Actually, I first heard about you. I did a gig in Palm Springs like earlier this year and met a boy at the gig, and we were hanging out the next day. I'm pointing to Luca. It wasn't you. I just pointed to you like maybe you know the experience.
Forgot. No. It's okay, get in line.
Just like maybe you know the experience. But no, like I met him at the gig, and then the next day I had a couple hours to spare. So we were like hanging out at the pool, and we were talking about Life Rhythms, the show. And then he was like, "Oh, like have you had the Scarlet Opera on?" And I hadn't heard of you guys yet, right?
I love that.
So he was showing me you guys. He was showing me your music and telling me all about you, and that's how I first heard about you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool to thank that gentleman that I'm sure you're still in touch with.
Yeah, I'm sure he's gonna watch this.
Okay, good.
When he
Thank
sees
you,
that
sir.
I didn't tell him. I haven't told him that I have interviewed you guys. So this is gonna be a surprise for him. So I'm sure he's gonna watch.
Amazing.
But that's how you guys came on my radar, and then I just went down the rabbit hole of your music and everything that you've been doing so far. So listeners who are new to the Scarlet Opera, the Scarlet Opera blends classic arena pump rock, pomp like pomp and circumstance.
Wow.
Right? Pump rock, neon bright, 80s pop, and more than a dash of Broadway style virtuosity into an infectious gender blending cocktail that its burgeoning fan base finds utterly intoxicating.
I love that.
This was
not us.
This is from Republic Records.
Oh.
These are notes that they sent.
Oh my
us.
God.
They've got your back.
So
guys.
obsessed with us.
They like so want you guys.
I love the word burgeon.
They're like so helping
Republic.
your story.
No, I love that.
But I love the name, the Scarlet Opera. So you guys aren't household names yet, but you've got like a crazy buzz around you. And we played a little bit of your music coming into the opening of the show. And we're going to play more of your music throughout this. And it's pretty clear that we've got generational talent here that I talk about later in the show. But the buzz is like you guys could be one of the biggest rock bands in the world in a couple years from now. You've already been on tour, opening for Ava Max. You're on the James Corden show. Right? You put out your EP, comedy, and the things that I'm saying, this is the kinds of things that people are saying around you. It's pretty wild. But at the same time, it's just, so we're going to talk about all that stuff. We're going to talk about the music, but also we're going to talk about you guys as humans. We really want to get to know you, right? We want to know like this moment in your career, what is it like for you guys in this exact moment where you're at and like you're on the precipice of something, you're about to go into chapter 1 of the next story of your career. You have new music coming out. And for sure, those of you listening that are very familiar with Scarlet Opera, that have seen all of the interviews, that know all the deets about them, about how they got their name and where they met and all that stuff, like this is not going to be another one of those interviews. We do mention that stuff, but my goal is that you get to connect with the guys more, their hearts and their minds and their music more after watching this.
Let's get into it.
So, we're going to take a break and we'll get right back here with the Scarlet Opera. This episode is brought to you by Mixillery.com. I'm excited to have Mixillery on as a sponsor personally because Mixillery is a platform that you can use to find and hire someone to remix your song. And why that's so important is because anybody can go online and you can search music producers, you can search for remixers, you can hire somebody, but it's like, how much do you pay them and who should you hire and what genre should you choose? And with option overload, it can be a little overwhelming to figure out what's the best use of your money. Because what it comes down to is remixes are marketing tools. a remix of a record will get that record in front of a larger audience. It will get that record played in venues and areas like the gym or a club or car or a fitness studio, places that maybe your original song may not be appropriate for. So it is an important marketing tool, but then who remixes it is important because first of all, the quality of the remix, and also maybe they have their own audience that's going to discover this remix. Maybe they have a following. Maybe they have a radio show. Maybe they tour and they'll be playing it out live. These are all sorts of things that are important. So Mixillery is a service that will help match you with the best remixer for your budget. So check out mixillery.com for more information on this.
I wanna be fight all night with me. That's alright. Look at what you did, mama. Look at me. I just wanna be a big city thing, mama. Mama. Baby, look at me. I just wanna be a big city thing, yeah.
Yes. I was not expecting that high note at the end. Thank you for that.
Me neither.
Yeah, she just was like ready to go. She's like, this is my moment. Yes. Guys, for those listening right now, this is exactly why you're going to be tuning in right now to my guest who just performed their song. This is the Scarlet Opera in the house. Welcome, guys, at Life Rhythms.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
So happy to open with that, and thank you for doing that performance for us.
Of course. Of course.
Super dry. There's no effects, no auto-tune.
I heard it.
Really?
Real dry.
It's so cool to hear it raw like that.
Yeah, it
I mean,
is.
it sounded great. I'm here in the room with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a minute since we did that acoustically, and it could really hear it right here. I was like, well, no, it's not too bad. We could strip it back.
Do you guys do
Launch
acoustic in your sets ever?
We did once.
Was that for
Troubadour.
Oh yeah.
It's cool.
It's been a minute since you've done that.
Yeah, things are a bit more grand, usually, and if we do dip it down, it's just
Can you
like
come closer to the mic?
things are a bit more grand.
Ooh,
usually.
yeah.
There
Bring
she
it
is.
close. Bring
Check,
it
check.
close.
Yeah, so usually things are a bit more larger than life. So if we do bring it down, it's still, the electric guitar and shimmers, Vita Justin.
Yeah. I really want to bring people who are new to the Scarlet Opera up to speed with you guys. So, Luca, I love you refer to your sound as regal rock.
Yeah.
Is that still yes?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Regal, it's monarch, it's royal, it's grand,
All
right?
of these things.
It's got an element of theater in it, right? But it's got the pop sensibilities.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think that. I mean,
That's
that
my
covers
take.
all the
Yeah, I
bases.
think that's-
I'm giving you my take.
Well, then we're doing it right because
Yeah.
that's really what it is.
We're
Yeah.
writing this down actually to make sure we can take this later and use this exactly what you're saying.
I mean, there's gonna be tons of clips generated from this because this is all video.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair. We feel like it's obviously the theatrics came pretty naturally to us early on, and so when we named the band the Scarlet Opera, we felt like we had to stay in vein with the larger than life aspect, and but it's still catchy tunes, but there's some silliness in there.
Yeah, the theatrics came natural to you as well because I've heard you were a very dramatic kid.
Wow.
Is that or
Flamboyant.
theatrical kid?
Yeah, annoying is what you mean. Again, you don't have to beat around the bush.
But you found a lane for it. Like you're putting the energy into something useful.
Yeah.
And you guys are really forging your own path right now in the industry. I know you get compared a lot to other bands of the past, and I'm not going to be one to do that because I feel like you're really carving out your own thing.
Thank you.
We
Yeah.
try. Thank you. I mean,
I think when we set out, obviously the obvious comparisons that we've heard all the time, I don't even know if they're worth mentioning because
I mean, you're welcome to. I just
we all know who
Yeah.
we've been compared
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
But what's funny is when we started doing this, everything's changed since then. But when I had talked to Chance initially, and me and Luke were talking, the first thing we said was Adele meets Parliament Funkadelic.
Yeah.
That was the ambition.
Right,
Obviously,
right.
it's very much changed since then,
Yeah.
and that is not at all what's happened. But when we started the band, we're kind of like, yeah, that sounds cool. And then it takes on a life of its own as you start developing.
And it's revealed itself.
That's
Yeah.
how it always happens.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
like when you're trying to do something, and I've gone to shows in LA and New York, and I've seen acts where I'm like, oh, you got the aesthetic down really well, but it doesn't feel genuine, and that's something that's not tangible, right? Like it doesn't feel authentic. So, and when I tell you we fought it because when we started getting those comparisons, you were like, I think at first we were like, no, we're the first of us, but you can't not be who you are. So it is just what it is, you know?
It's a compliment. And all it is
Truly.
people are just, I mean, it's just the way our brains are wired. We categorize things because we're just trying to understand what it is. So we're like, oh, this reminds me of this, this, and this. So I think, therefore, I understand what this is.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
We've definitely made like more peace with it, understanding that now, you know, and as we've gotten further in this journey, it always was a compliment, but now it's kind of like, well, you know, we're picking up where they left off and continuing to run.
You're like the Gen Z version of it.
Yeah. Oh, keep me on.
Yeah. It's Queen. I'm just going to throw it out there. It's Queen.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Gen Z version. But what I love being part of the queer community myself is it's, you know, I grew up, I'm used to, oh, this person was gay, but he was in the closet, and he, like, queer community has contributed so much to culture and music. But it's so nice to see a group that is embracing it, and not even just that, but just embracing whoever you are.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are you guys are allies and part of the community, right?
Absolutely.
But I love that the message is you're really embracing who you are, who the fans are.
Yeah, for better or for worse, of course.
Yeah.
That's the best part. Yeah, I think that also revealed itself to us. You know, again, we just were shots in the dark, and then as the fans started coming in and we were meeting them and hugging them and hearing their stories, we were like, oh, this is what we're doing. We're providing a space here. So then we started really like owning it and leaning into it and finding ways to get a little more specific for it. So that way, you know, we could really create a home for people to come and feel larger than life, jeans and a t-shirt to a ball gown. Everyone's welcome.
Yeah, I love one of your posts on social media. You had said something like, what we have up our skirts. Like,
wow.
You know, I just, all of those, I have to say, like, I notice all those little details.
I appreciate that.
and at least for me, I see that, I'm like, oh, I like them. I really love this. Like, it just kind of pulls me into your world. You guys are creating a world, and you're pulling us into it, and talking about liberating people. Well, so let's see, like the Scarlet Opera, inspired by the Scarlet lettering, and it represents the misunderstood, the outcasts.
Yeah.
Right. There's the glamour element. There's come as you are.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of that can be kind of general, but I think on different levels, which I won't speak for you guys, but we've all grown up with some sort of, I mean, it's a society that kind of feeds off of shame. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be about sexuality or gender identity. It often is. But, you know, there's a lot of shame in being who you are sometimes. And I think we wanted to provide a space for each other originally, and then for our fans to be shameless. At least for a night. I think we owe it to ourselves. You know, hopefully a lifetime.
Yeah.
We've been really good about it more than one night.
Yeah,
Our shamelessness.
Yeah. Maybe you should feel more
But by you guys embodying this and making this part of the music project, you're also teaching people how to embody it themselves in their own way.
I love that. I think that's just a side effect, though. Truly, it's lovely, but I think just being ourselves and being lifted up by these boys, that's sort of like we're offering people an opportunity to see that on a stage and be like, oh, that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like meeting Luca and starting this whole process gave me as a like lifelong musician, but not an artist. You know what I mean? Like the reflection of what impact the music can have when we're actually doing these live shows and meeting people. I was like, oh, this actually is affecting people. And when I started making music, I was like, this is fun. Like I like making sounds, but when you find that responsibility in the community, it does kind of change your perspective on how you want to live your own life.
Because you started out singer-songwriter, right?
Yeah, wow, you've really done your research.
Yeah.
This is like Nardwar.
Yeah. This is not going to be like a typical interview.
Okay.
This is not even an interview. It's a conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's the goal. I mean, that's the goal. Is I want to connect with you. I want to get to know your hearts and your minds. And look, you guys already have. You're not household names yet, but you already have a rabid fan base, right? They've seen your interviews. They see your interview with iHeartRadio and the other ones that you've done, right? They know those details about you, and and they want more, right? I want more. I want to get to know you more. So that's my goal. Is just like, let's talk and connect over this. So you started as a singer-songwriter.
Yeah, I started singer-songwriter when I was like 14, 15, like everyone else. And I tried it and went throughout college. And by the time I left, I kind of was like, this isn't for me. I don't think I'm going to have much success. And kind of gave that part of my life up until Luke and I connected. And from there, it kind of changed my perspective on what my musical life could be.
there's something in being able to really be like objectively look at yourself. And you know, it's like I've had various dreams throughout my life, but over time you like to be able to really look at yourself objectively and to say like, is this what I'm meant to be doing? Like, is that where my talents are, or is that where the universe is pulling me? Mm-hmm. That, to me, that's something I think about a lot. And it sounds like you guys have been able, because you all come from very different backgrounds.
Definitely.
Yeah, to an extent. I think we all grew up in the, trying to tap into something creative that was pulling us into a certain direction. But yeah, it's different. You're not really ever sure what your place is. Like us as a band, we've had a drastic shift over the last 3 years from what we used to. So what we once thought we were has shifted. Yeah. So, it can happen to an individual or in a group, setting. So it's interesting.
That's so true.
And the way is by these little signals that you're getting, by fans showing up to the show, by what the stories, what they're saying to you. And you start to see like, oh, this is the way we're connecting with people. I wasn't expecting that. Why don't we lean into that more? Or, oh, we thought we were going to be Adele, that thing, but...
We still might.
Well, I mean, maybe a future album, you can change it up.
I'm down, man. I'm down. Yeah, it's informed, I think, what we do. We put something out there. We weren't sure where it would go, but after a few tours, we're seeing this response that's then informing our intentional decisions based off of something that was kind of just a gamble. Let's see what we can inspire in people, and people have responded tenfold at times. So it's been interesting and fulfilling and heartwarming to an extent. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's got to be interesting having people showing, like being in cities for the first time, but you saying it's kind of feels like a homecoming for you guys. And like, it's like a family reunion. Yeah. It's kind of like that instant.
Yeah. Embrace. I am so sorry.
Why don't you move the mic down a little bit? It's all good. We just want to hear the voice.
She's so cute. Okay, hi guys. Yeah, if it does. I mean, like some cities, like especially New York City, like a lot of us have like very specific memories there growing up, and so going back and having friends that we've made over the years. Again, it's the LA and New York are the two cities where people are, the artists are for now anyway, and so like when we go there, we can feel this sort of like embrace. It feels like a hug sometimes, guys.
Yeah. What's that like for you? Having like, what was Little Luca like? In terms of the kind of like where my head's at, where I'm asking this is like this band was kind of built around you, and did you ever think like that would be possible as a kid?
No. When I was much younger, which I don't really talk about this much, but like I was, I taught myself a little bit of piano, and I started playing at church, in church basements at like open mics and stuff like that. And I wrote these songs that were very like Journey-esque. I was a big Journey fan. Then I just loved the drama of it all. And then I got into a Christian rock band that we only played like 3 shows ever, but we played like, a festival. Everything was very religious. but Little Luca was like interested in music, but didn't have like a clue necessarily what he wanted to say yet, or how he wanted it to sound. I also didn't really have many guy friends, and so I never imagined that this would be my life now. And now, truly, I'm like, I got too many of them. No, but it, and it changes you in a way, in the best way. I think it challenges me. I challenge them, and that's what I think Colin is talking about this growth that like you can't really, expect. It just kind of happens, just being around a family, essentially a brand new family.
And this level of accepting you and building the brand, and you guys all being all in, is like really speaks to me. It's like, wow, these guys are like, they're accepting Luca, embracing him, and they're all in on this project around him. And that means so much to me as just a member of like the queer community. To see that, it's like beautiful.
Thank you.
Love hearing that. Yeah.
This is going to sound like a joke, but it's not. You should see how we dressed before Luca met all of us.
Oh, really?
Like, not a joke. Like we like significantly improved.
Sometimes I hits and misses for myself still. But
yeah, I didn't say you're perfect, but we've gotten better. We've definitely gotten better.
I mean, there's perks. There's definitely perks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's been a journey. Again, we challenge each other. And so like there's things where I'm like, oh, wow, like I really need to be thinking differently about this, because I'm projecting onto them like my childhood bullshit, and like and really that's not what they're saying. That anyway. So it's been a journey, but yeah, it's all love.
I would love to know what was little Justin like. And
Little Justin.
Yeah, little Justin, little Colin.
I was
Daniel,
quiet. I was
little
quiet.
Chance.
I was probably more quiet and shy.
Yeah, you were.
I didn't have blonde hair. Shocker. But
It's not natural.
But I played. Yeah, I was around music. It was instilled from my parents. I started playing drums. I would play in bands. It was a doorway into, I think, meeting people and making friends. Like there's just common interest in that. So we would jam. We would kind of see what came of it. No intention, and then it just it was a domino from there. And you get more confident in your abilities, you get more confident in yourself as you mature and you age. And then, you find yourself in different situations and, you meet friends, you meet people that become, your family to an extent. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Are you, as a drummer, are you a people watcher? Because you kind of get to observe, right?
Oh,
likes to
absolutely.
watch.
Yeah, I'm very I'm either in my own zone or I'm very much like listening to everyone else.
He's like, oh, that's interesting. I see little stories play. Because I DJ.
yeah, okay.
And I love to people watch. As a DJ, it's fantastic to be up on stage and just see a crowd of people. And all night, I'm just people watching.
Wow.
And you see all these little stories
It's like
play
a
out.
zoo. Yeah, that's wild.
It's so fun, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This tour was fun because the people in the front, well, we did a national tour where we weren't the headliner, but there were people that would come for us, like clearly just you could tell by how they'd sing along or they'd looked a certain way, they dressed a certain way. So sometimes I'd watch them, they'd be just jamming out, singing along. It would distract me. I would then feel like, oh shit, did I miss like this mark? Did I miss this fill? Like my head, I got to get back into it. And then I'm like, I zone back in. So
Explains so much.
Sometimes it's fun. Like, yeah. Sometimes it's fun. It can be detrimental.
We need to put,
too.
you know how horses have like those blinders.
Yeah,
They don't
I
work.
already-
We put sunglasses on him because he was so focused on people sometimes that we would get photos and I'd be like sweating. Chance would be like, and
I'm
then you'd
just
just
like-
be
Yeah. I'm like most of the photos. I'm like,
just dead behind the eyes.
like, yeah.
But we fall
So-
in love with it. We just,
It's
But Justin's also-
become shades
it's
from
his
that thing
gag.
you do.
Justin's running the show
Yes.
too. Like
Oh, yeah.
if Justin misses, like we're all in trouble.
I've been running like we have some playback rigs and some technology that I have to kind of listen out for and cue off of these guys and just feel. So there's a lot sometimes.
and you learned that mostly this year. Like this is sort of,
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
lot of firsts.
Our show in the last year has essentially become what it is. We had to learn from a very different genre, different style, different instrumentation, and we've learned to adapt to like a bigger stage and competing with like bigger acts. You got to. There's a certain element to that you have to.
Yeah, I would love to
sink
know what the
into.
early shows were like. Because there's not. Is there
were-
video of them online?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You have to dig a little
Perta
bit.
stuff.
Yeah.
You can.
Huh?
You gotta
The
start.
Perta stuff?
You can find Perta stuff.
You guys were Perta, and
There's
then you
a couple,
rebranded.
There are videos, yeah.
With the horn guys. There's definitely some with the
Oh,
horn
for
guys.
sure. There
There might
like
be
socials.
even be a video from the Kel Arts show.
No, you'd be surprised. We actually had some fans put some shit on YouTube. Like we have videos from like festivals and stuff.
Yeah.
Cute.
Oh,
We'll find it for you.
It was.
Yeah, we'll send it.
It's similar, but it's a little more loose. It's a little more free form. Like some of the arrangements were just out there. Like we would extend things and
Oh, okay.
yeah, it was cool. It was
Same energy though.
Yeah.
Same like vibe. Like there was a between us, like just me ping ponging. Same sweat, you know.
It was like a learning process. All the shows you could tell even by if you look at the year. Like there was a 5-year span pretty much where
Yeah.
we were performing as our previous moniker, and yeah, it got better as we went on. Like I think in the beginning we thought we were the greatest thing. And then
Ooh, don't you always?
2 years later, we're like, wow, now we're the greatest thing. And then 2 years later, are we the greatest?
Okay, what about Chance? What was
Little?
little Chance like? Yeah.
What is the spectrum of little? In terms of
That is
That is the most chance answer I've ever heard.
That is the answer.
in my
Okay,
entire
God.
life.
I need or not specifics, but general.
It needs context. I don't know, 5 to 8 to 10.
5
Yeah.
to 8 to 10. Okay. Gosh, little me then was not huge into music. Was dabbling with the guitar a bit, but was definitely more into film and filmmaking. And that kind of carried into my teens.
Orchestrations
And then-
horns and yeah.
And then that started carrying into film scoring world. And I guess we're way past 10 now. I went and then started studying that in school. I guess this is big little me. at this point.
No.
But as a guitarist, you're still the one doing the orchestrations and stuff, the horns, or you did in the beginning.
Yeah, in the phase that Justin was talking about, where it was, I guess, the loose phase,
the
for lack
era?
of a better term.
Anything went in that. Anything goes.
The Perza era.
Yeah. I had some guys that I knew from. I led a jazz funk group way back when,
And on the comedy EP too.
Yeah.
I got video.
Yeah.
And on
I got
comedy.
video there.
Oh yeah. So from
Same guys.
from like loose era to Scarlet Opera era. There were on comedy. I brought in the guys that we used to play live with in a studio context, which was cool because we hadn't really done that yet.
Yeah.
Like intentionally.
Yeah.
That was cool. Yeah.
And Luca, when you first heard some of the horns, I saw in an interview you like screamed. You were in a laundromat.
Oh my god!
Oh, yeah.
I was
I
gonna
remember
say,
this.
bring that up. I'll just shut up. And
I
we'll get to the
remember
next
this.
thing. Yeah, no, I very much was sent.
But
it
I
was-
know that feeling. I
Oh,
know
yeah.
that feeling of like
it was
something's
something
missing.
was missing. Yeah, no, that's exactly what it was. Literally, I was like, oh, missing puzzle piece. And I don't get an opportunity to talk about this enough. But because of his like love for film growing up and his love for cinema and composition and arrangement, like the in betweens of our set, like the music in between is so cinematic and beautiful, and it gives me a time to get a drink of water, but doesn't drop the moment. And it's all him. Like that is him at home making that based off of a couple voice notes that I'll send him being like, I want it to feel like this, and God bless him. But like he brings just as much theater as any one of us,
Right.
So, but people don't really know that. So I
true.
think that's important. Yeah,
So we've got like the film drama, we got the theater drama,
yeah,
right?
punk drama.
The punk drama.
I love.
I can't wait to hear what me
kind
and
of-
Danny
yeah.
end up being.
Yeah, I want to hear about your drama.
Just the drama.
Yeah, what's the drama?
I'm glad I went first.
Yeah, you got that out. Yeah.
What about the keyboard drama?
the keyboard drama is you want to talk Little Colin or just like the drama?
Of course.
Okay. Little
We're not going to
Colin.
skip you.
Babe.
We want to know.
I would say Little Colin was a bit of a chameleon, for better or for worse, as Luke was saying. I had a lot of friends, but I was a people pleaser. And because of that, I had a lot of friends, so I could go into any of my groups of friends who either were like skaters or the musicians or the jocks or the popular kids, and I kind of did whatever was best for me to fit into that group and kind of change my personality. And I don't think it was like until college until
I can relate to that.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice to have people around. You felt less lonely, and then you got more lonely because you realized you didn't really have anyone that close. But that being said, my true friends growing up are like still the people that are closest to me in the world. Like my best men at my wedding were all these guys, and then like 3 of my best friends from high school. That was my groom's party. And then the keyboard drama. The keyboard drama is I started as this band's manager and not as a musician. So that was probably the drama that I had unpacked, which was playing with all these guys who've been doing it forever and being kind of the new kid on the block and having to learn my instrument on the fly and hang with people that I revere as musicians. Like it wasn't an accident that everyone here ended up being here for their talents and like who they are as people. So that's been my journey.
Yeah. Love that.
You knew that though, didn't you? You know everything.
Well, I didn't know. I knew. Well, what I was just thinking about was like, oh, there's another moment of you starting off as a manager, but also it's like when you knew when it was time to step aside and let new management come in too, right?
Yeah, I think it was becoming clear.
I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming. I don't know what conversations happened around it, but
the conversation was Justin ruining my life by being like, why don't you play piano, man?
Yeah, sorry, man. But you're also welcome.
Thanks. No, it was just like very clear towards a certain point that like we were getting attention from certain people and parties, and if I stuck around the position I potentially would be risking opportunity for us that I couldn't provide because I didn't have the network or the resources to do. And it felt a little selfish, but at the same time, this was my baby. And I was like, I don't want to not be a part of this anymore. And I am a musician. So this felt like the logical next step.
yes. Okay. We got one left.
Yep. Here he is.
Little Daniel.
Little Daniel.
Little Daniel.
All right. Well, all right. Let's talk about little Daniel now. Oh, boy. Cookies.
What were you like as a kid? What's your earliest memory of music?
My earliest memory of music.
Yeah.
Wow. My first memory of music was being on a road trip with my parents, and my leg was touching the speaker on the side of the door.
Okay.
And I was listening to Dark Side of the Moon, which was my favorite first record ever by Pink Floyd. And
Was that the first time you were hearing it? Or
this
that
is my first memory of music.
just your first memory? Okay.
Which, I
But
don't know
by
if
that
this
point, you
memory-
already knew it.
in my memory of this memory, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Just shut your.
That was good.
And I remember feeling physically the bass through the speakers and the floor of the car,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh shit, this is what I want to do."
What is it about the bass, the feeling of it and the sound of it that drew you to it?
First of all, I mean, if you really look deep into all the bands and artists you love, at least from my perspective, the bass is kind of the unsung hero of a lot of those records. And I fought that in my head a lot. I mean, at first, when I really got into playing bass, I went for the more virtuosic, complicated music that gave bass a bigger voice. And went a little overboard with it. And then over time, I mean, you talk to any other bass player who's worth their salt, they'll tell you that having taste is the key to being a really good bass player.
Yeah.
So it took many, many, many years of playing the most complicated things and fighting against this, like, this instrument that makes a record, but also no one notices, but also is one of the only things about music that you can physically feel.
Yeah.
Which was the biggest thing for me. But yeah, it took a long time to get from that place of wanting it to sing to making it more of a cog in the songwriting machine that we have.
Yeah.
And finding purpose and joy and excitement in that. And then once that happened, holy shit, the doors just flew open.
Yeah, they just fly open.
Yeah.
You had said in another interview about how, and I'd never thought about this until I saw that, about how you said the bass is the instrument where you don't notice it's there, but you definitely notice it when it's not there. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, it's one of the, it's
There's like that warmth in that.
It's the plumbing.
It's that bed of that warmth. Yeah, the
plumbing
song
of the
doesn't feel
song.
naked anymore when the bass isn't there. It's the
Totally.
plumbing.
It is.
the plumbing.
Look, you know what? We can all
You're right, but you didn't
we can all laugh, but at the end of the day, who wants to live in a fucking house without running water?
Okay, all right, hey, go out there.
Done. But little Daniel,
Yeah, no, make this
Plumbing was
point.
great. I think that's a great metaphor.
That's really good. Yeah, it was just funny. It was
it's
how
all right.
you said it.
Watch as I completely kill the mood. So little Daniel had some severe issues. I kind of actually the antithesis of Colin. I didn't fit in anywhere.
Okay.
I grew up with really severe anxiety and body dysmorphia. So a lot of shame around how I saw my body, and fighting constantly from the age of 6 until, I mean, anxiety never goes away, but having the tools to live a fulfilling life, probably until somewhere in the pandemic, daily panic attacks and just questioning your reality and really scary stuff. Let alone as an adult, but when you're really young, it shapes your entire world. So everything you're doing is you're curating your space to feel safe at every moment.
Yeah.
So, you know, in terms of the band was such a blessing and to touch on something you said earlier, which is to see this band or this group of guys embrace Luca. The irony of that, at least from my end, was that was not even a second thought in my world. I mean, all of our worlds too. I grew up in LA. My mom is an artist. Most of her friend group is queer. So I grew up that not being a stigmatism or that not being something that was weird to accept. But on my end, coming into this band going, here's this really fucking anxious dude who hates how he looks, doesn't think that he's sexually attractive or has anything socially to offer or whatever it is. So all of that energy went into my instrument ever since I picked it up. And to have a group of guys that I was like, oh shit, these are guys that I always pictured were going to pick on me in middle school.
Yeah.
And then become a part of this unit is life-shifting, completely life-shifting. So mental health is my kind of history with that.
Yeah, and the bass, it's interesting because the bass is such a cool instrument.
Thank you.
Yeah. Like when I was first familiarizing myself with the group and everyone's names and stuff and I was learning what the names of each of you were, and the way I learned your name and the bass before I really dug into all of the interviews and everything was for me it was like Daniel, and I thought of like Daniel Craig, and I thought of James Bond, and I was like, because to me the bass is so cool and badass, so I'm like, okay, James Bond on the bass, that's Daniel, okay, Daniel's a bassist. That was like,
I love how you're doing it.
That's great.
I mean, everyone here can speak to that, but my instrument, it's kind of like, you know how you see a dog and their owner and you're like, of course, that's exactly, that dog belongs with that owner and vice versa. Well, I feel very much that way about my instrument, and who I am as a human being are one thing.
Yeah.
That is something that all of my anxiety and joy and anger and angst and unbridled happiness, everything I've put into that instrument, and that instrument has given it right back.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. And I kind of view everyone here like that. Like, of course, Justin plays drums. It makes total fucking sense.
Tapping away over here.
It just, but I loved that. I always loved that thing about it. The instrument that, it's always anything I wanted to be, the bass ended up kind of being that intrinsically.
That's what I was going to say. The bass represented what you wanted to become.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Or it was kind of like, it brought it out of you. It was always in you.
The bass was definitely the thing that brought me a voice, not the other way around.
Yeah. But the voice was there. Because I feel like there's always something subconscious within us that chooses things that, for example, my brother is a priest. Yeah. We got very diverse family.
Girl.
But my brother was also very shy. He didn't have experience with like public speaking. And I never really talked to him about this, but I feel like subconsciously he knew that by choosing that path and becoming a priest, it's forced him to, now he has to publicly speak. He has to give sermons. He's got to advise people and be a community leader. And that didn't come naturally to him, but he wanted to be that, and he knew it was in him. And his vocation is kind of like the catalyst for that, and I feel like the same with the bass.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we should end the first segment there because we have to take a break.
Love that.
Yeah, so we're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna be back here with the Scarlet Opera, and I've got a little surprise for you guys. We're gonna talk about the single "That Kind of Woman."
Come on.
Right after this on Adobe Radio.
What? Scared me.
We're just so. Welcome back to Life Rhythms Radio Show. I'm your host Ryan Skyy, Adobe family. I've got my guests plural because we got a full house today in the studio with me, the Scarlet Opera, and we're featuring their music. They've got the comedy EP out, so you're hearing clips of the comedy EP. We've got the new single that we're featuring of theirs, "That Kind of Woman."
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, guys, I want to start right away. I've got a little surprise for you.
Oh, good.
All right.
Scared.
So just move your eyes over to the screen over there. Let's see what happens. So my guest this coming week, they're called the Scarlet Opera.
Okay.
Their name Scarlet Opera, they said they got it from the Scarlet Letter. They want to be representing misfits and people who were misunderstood. Was there ever a time in your life where you felt like an outcast or anything like that?
Would definitely say that I've always had that beauty of being like you fit in partially everywhere but not fully in one space, and I think a large part of that is being very multicultural, moving around a lot. So I would say, if anything, that has been one of the prevailing themes in my life, of feeling slightly disconnected from being like in the in group.
So you kind of wear it as a badge of honor?
I think so, yeah. I feel like that is something I'm like very proud of.
Okay, the song that we're featuring from the Scarlet Opera, it's called "That Kind of Woman."
3.
Let me just play it for you.
She could turn the whole room crazy. She
hear that like 80s rock kind of?
I would say one niche thing I really like is, for lack of better phrasing, I like to call it slightly angsty white boy music.
Okay.
And I feel like that is like a little bit of what I'm picking up on, like, and I think that comes to the whole idea of the misfits and trying to create space for people who feel othered. And I like that. I feel like this is something I would listen to if I was like walking around.
I love the angsty white boy.
Oh, I do enjoy quite a bit. Oh yeah, I have my playlist. I love 90s rom-coms, and I feel like the soundtrack to any good 90s rom-com is heavily angsty white boy music. It makes me feel like I'm living in like Clueless or something like that.
Yeah,
you know, like Dirty Little
yeah,
Secret? That is like my vibe.
Yeah, like this song, it's kind of like the opening of like a high school scene where all the kids are like pulling up in their cars and they're all walking into the building with their book
And
bags.
that's literally what it would be. I feel like one of my favorite movies in the world is Clueless, and in the back of any of them there's like some kind of like na 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 na, and it works well. I like it.
Oh my god, that's so fantastic.
Love that. Oh my gosh, she read us for Phil. I love it. No, that was fantastic.
I was not expecting. What's great about this is called the people's perspective, and what it is I drive rideshare, and it's totally random.
That's amazing.
So it's like whoever my guest is that week, I just turn on the rideshare app, and I literally just start picking up random people.
Amazing.
And not everyone wants to participate.
Sure.
Right, and not everyone works out. Right, but. So I ask them questions based on the guests that week, and I just see what I get, and then I bring it in here to show you guys.
It's
Brilliant.
fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah.
Angsty white boy music.
So
Come on.
angsty white, yeah. And when she brought that up, that song, like I was like, oh my god, if there's ever a Devil Wears Prada 2, that has to be the opening of it.
Yeah, that would be
Think about it. Think about it. Can you sing a little bit?
They would have to bring. They would have to
But
bring.
just imagine, because you know
Anne
Devil Wears
Hathaway.
Prada, right? The original opens with the Katie Lang song. What is the song? Suddenly I See.
Oh, of course.
Suddenly I See.
Of course.
This is what I wanna be. So can you sing a little bit of She's That Kind of Woman?
That Kind of Woman.
And can we just all imagine the opening?
Yeah, just like close your eyes and see Meryl Streep for a second.
Well, I see her walking in to the building. I see her. I mean, actually, I can just edit it in.
Yeah, okay.
Because I edit this whole thing.
He doesn't want to hear
I mean,
me
if
sing.
you want to
no,
sing.
it's fine. No, I'm now envisioning it as well. I feel like I see the heels walking, shuffling across. Because you remember because I just watched it.
Yeah.
It's like the different women of New York walking through,
Yes.
and then it cuts to Anne Hathaway just being like, hey, I
It's
love
the
that.
perfect opening
I'm
for
her
Devil Wears.
in the beginning of Devil Wears Prada, just like standing on the street corner, like, what's up? Anyway.
It's the perfect opening for Devil Wears Prada
I
2.
completely
She's
agree.
that kind of woman. She's showing up to the building. She's walking into the office. All the girls are walking around with their power suits on and their heels.
I mean, I love it.
Do they bring back Meryl Streep, or does Anne Hathaway now
Meryl
play Meryl Streep's character?
Wow.
And Meryl Streep's, she's coming back from the trenches.
yeah.
They're bringing her back,
No, I feel like what's happening is Meryl Streep has because if you've seen it
Oh,
at the
of course.
end, so
Oh.
Anne Hathaway kind of goes her own way. I feel like she comes back. I don't know why, but I think,
I'd watch it.
She's Catwoman.
We have to see what happens more with Anne Hathaway. Like, do we care more about what happens with Meryl Streep's character or Anne Hathaway's character?
Well, she's the one who changes, so I think Anne Hathaway, right?
They'd have
But
to
inadvertently, Meryl changes through her relationship with Anne.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to rewatch it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? She ultimately kind of doesn't. She reverts back to some of those.
I feel like if they do a second one, it's going to be a
Toxic.
brand new cast. It's going to be like today. It would be like,
It would have to be.
you know what I mean?
Because
It'd have
that
to
was
be
like 2003
yeah,
or
it's
6 or something.
I feel like it would tackle like a lot more like social issues and stuff like this in the modeling world. And
I
stuff
want
like
to see what
that.
happens to her
Yeah.
boyfriend's
Even
cooking
more.
career. The cooking career of Vinny Chase.
Oh yeah,
That's what I really
He
want
was
to
the
track.
real villain.
He was.
holding her back.
He was.
She was just trying to have a
So
career like
true.
shit.
Luca, you said you feel like Anne Hathaway in the beginning of the movie. You feel like that now?
No, well, depends on the day.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm half and half. Like some days I get it, and some days, yeah. But I'm not upset at when I'm Anne Hathaway in the beginning.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Like, do you guys feel like cool kids now, or do you like? How's the evolution of the band versus like? Because the buzz around the band is growing. The things that people say about you guys would sound like extremes. Like it could be the biggest rock band in the world, right? But then when somebody hears your music, when they see you live, when they hear the talent, when they see the talent, they're like, oh, yeah, that could be that.
Do I feel like cool kids?
It flows. It changes.
I don't know about a cool kid. I certainly feel more secure.
Yeah.
Just as a human.
Yeah, I think I'm personally, I spent a lot of time trying to like figure out how to be a part of the cool crowd. Like even as the band started, like how to make cool music and cool, like, you know, the guys I was like dating, it was just like how interesting could I be, and and it never was me. And then I finally leaned into me, and you know, some people don't find that cool, but it does make me feel cooler to be more authentically myself. So I don't know. It depends on how I think you define cool. I think we're like
success,
making
can we
our
talk
own.
about that too? How do you define success?
Sure.
That's another.
Yeah, I sometimes back to your original question, like what I've joked with Luca and finding this kind of middle ground as we are at this stage. It's like sometimes it feels like, at least early on, like you're playing rock star.
Yeah,
you're kind of like, okay, sometimes like today I'm rock star, and then like the next day I'm just me, and I go to a normal job and I have normal interactions, and then the next day people ask for my autograph depending on this current situation, and it's like it was a weird shift mentally. And I think to your point, like it is kind of about not trying to be cool, not trying to be anything. It's just whatever you are that day, whatever situation you are in, you're going to be yourself. And yeah, like we're kind of in an era where like being cool isn't cool. You know what I mean? Like trying to be cool is no longer. It's kind of seen as passe. It's just like not.
I felt cool when we were on stage, like when we were playing, and the people that we mentioned who knew us, who were coming and reciprocating, like that was cool. And then, yeah, you're right. You go back and sometimes you grapple with, am I cool? What is cool? I think you don't try. You don't really think about kind of that cycle.
Yeah.
And you'll find yourself there more often than not.
Yeah.
Probably.
What I was getting at when I asked that was more about like people have what I think is so crazy is just, and I experience this too, is like people have a perception of me based on what they see online or based on my career or like things that have happened, like good things that have happened in my career versus maybe how I actually see myself. Or they have kind of like a perception of who they think I am and like who they think my life is.
Right.
That they don't know, like it doesn't necessarily always line up. And it must be so wild because you guys are at a really interesting moment in your careers where you're not just starting out, where you're like just moved to LA and like nobody knows you and you're not signed and you're just trying to like, oh, I want to be in the industry. But also you're not household name selling out arenas. You're signed to a major label. You just did a national tour. You opened for Ava Max, right? You were on the James Corden show, right? Millions of streams on Spotify and that sort of thing, and the buzz around you. And yet, but then also I've heard you talk about your day jobs. That was 4 months ago. And it's like, and also, Colin, you had talked about how the advice you got was like the hardest part about making it or being a musician is where you're so busy that you can't have your day jobs because you're so busy, but you're not quite like raking in the dough yet.
Yeah, me and Luke have talked about that a lot. Like we used to think our perceptions of what success is, to your initial question, are so different when we get into this because the industry's changed so much and you're also on the outside looking in, that when you're actually in, you realize that it doesn't come at this time. You're kind of like, here's enough to just do this and just focus on this entirely. What's going to happen is you're eventually going to be so busy you don't even have the luxury of a day job. And then the real trick is how do you make ends meet and how do you make that work? Because that, as we've talked about a million times, I think is where most people don't succeed. That's the hardest part, is when you get right there and you don't have the time to be a normal Joe with a normal working job, but you're also not a household name and you're not making a ton of money doing it. How do you survive in that? And like, we're kind of right in that world right now.
Yeah. What would you call this era that you're in at the moment?
Breaking surface.
You posted something on Instagram the other day that...
Oh, that it was a preface. That if everything before this was the preface to chapter 1. And, you know, that kind of falls in line with what we've been told, like with the team that we've surrounded ourselves by, was sort of like, you know, you've been a band for 7 years plus now. But to the world, we've only been the Scarlet Opera for a year now. You know, and at the time when they told us, they were like 6 months. And I was like, oh my God, you know. And, you know, they say, what's that saying? 10 years for an overnight success.
Yeah.
we're on year 8. but realistically, I think a lot about success, because I think earlier on I had to redefine it, and we're always constantly redefining, and I think that that's healthy. But I think we've been a success, like in my mind, because we support ourselves, we keep a roof over our head and food on the table, and we continue to show up and make art that really means something to us, and do shows that really mean something to us. When Justin says like we're on the stage and that's when it feels successful, he's absolutely right. That is the most us you're gonna get, and I mean that, because it's not trying to play some sort of fucking TikTok algorithm to get you to hear our fucking song. It's not gonna be some Instagram post where we look fucking hot. You're gonna see me sweating. You're gonna see Danny's bass face. You're gonna hear our mistakes, my voice crack, missed keys, like whatever. You're gonna get the raw humanity of who we are on a platform. That's what excites me, because that's when I get to finally let any guard down that we all can relate to. But like,
People see that. That's what they're responding to. That and the talent. I mean, like generational talent that you guys have.
Thank you.
It's got to be wild to hear comments like this, and then to like, okay, I just think my own experience. Like when I lived in New York City, I used to work at a toy company as my day job. And like
toy company.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So I remember being in like the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and I'm like showing up to this toy company. I was supposed to do their marketing. And meanwhile, I'm like producing music on the side, and I released my first single, and it was charting on Billboard. And I was like doing my own press outreach, and I had like articles in the Huffington Post and whatever, and like these things bubbling up. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing it. But then I would like go into work, and they're like, oh, Ryan, we need to have a meeting today and talk about the launch of this new toy. And we need to schedule a photo shoot for, and oh, we have the toy convention is next weekend, and you're going to need to work 10 hours a day, like selling toys to like vendors. And I could like give a shit, Right. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, this is so weird that like, I have success happening, but at the same time, like, you wouldn't know that necessarily in other parts of my life. And that was always so wild.
Sometimes the money doesn't come right away, right? So it's like it's almost like just like, I remember when we got signed by Republic, I left that meeting, changed in my car into my restaurant uniform, and then walked into work. That was the same day. You know what I mean? But I felt like king of the world. That was the best shift of my fucking life, because I was signed, But then, the pandemic happened, and, so it was still a point of success, but I think if you're just like speaking on it in terms of like monetary gain, like money doesn't always come right away.
You want to tell them what happened the night Place to Be came out?
Just tragedy.
The morning that we had.
Yeah, I mean, it's all like part of the reality of being an artist and wanting to follow your dreams. But the morning that our first single came out, after years and years like of waiting, and I had gotten an eviction notice. I had gotten home from work. I had an eviction notice on my apartment door, which I later found out is like kind of like just a warning. Yeah. but I didn't know. It
was more of a suggestion.
I just like didn't have rent yet. We were doing so much, which I was so excited about. And then I went. I just crumpled it up and I threw it on my side table, and I dressed into a cute outfit, and I met these boys at this like 5-star restaurant the label was treating, and and then we ended up taking over the stage at that restaurant and singing a couple songs, and one of the best nights of my life. And in the back of my head the whole time I was just like, can I live with one of you guys? And I literally like 3 of them offered, and I ended up being able to scrounge, and you figure it out.
Did you share right away what was happening, or do you find yourselves kind of like hiding some of that stuff sometimes?
The next morning I called and cried. I held on to it.
Not from each other.
No,
we're all in it together.
Yeah.
We ride the highs and lows. And
well, that's one of the great things about being in a band is what keeps us all through the process is unbridled belief.
Yeah.
And at any given point, just the nature of it, someone's going to be low on it, someone's going to be in the surplus, and we all do a really good job of picking up
the slack.
Yeah, just the you're down.
I'm
not that.
No. I'm laughing at like you're like finishing each other's sentences, and I love it. It's like beautiful.
It's been a long time. We had a good. I can't bring this up, but we had a good like moment a couple weeks ago where like we were in like full-time go mode for a long time after That Kind of Woman came out, and we were just like very in the throes of like constant content 5 days a week, like always meeting blah blah, and like there was like this weird, there was a tension not amongst us or between us, but I think there was this kind of like gnawing feeling of every time we got together for a while, it was just to focus on being productive and just like getting things done. And in that process, we kind of lost some of like just the fact that we are a family and the love for one another. And we just like went to drinks randomly one night and all of us it just poured out. We were all like, oh my God, you've been feeling that? I've been feeling that way. I can't believe it. And and for me, it was like one of the best moments we've had maybe as an entire band, where just like left that being like, oh yeah, so much of this is just being with each other, even if that means that, you know, we didn't have to produce something or write a song or record something. It's just making sure that this unit is solid. Because like if you're, you know, platinum artists and you're miserable doing it with each other, then what's the point?
Yeah. The way that you guys have each other's backs, and that's one of the main reasons I do this show, is because a lot of people that listen don't have this, right? But through listening to your stories and other guests that I have on the show, that is way, like, you guys talk to each other, right? And you're able to see like your shared humanity and your shared experience, and that helps you keep going. And for me with this show, that's what I want to bring to the listeners, where they're like, I'm just a solo artist, but I'm listening to this guest, and I didn't know he's going through that. I'm going through that too, and like, look where he's at. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're creating community.
Yeah. Well, yes. Yeah. Creating the community. But that's why these stories are so important to me to share with people. And also too, that whole era of like the artist creating this like perfect image where they're like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
You're pulling the curtain back.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's really healthy
That's
too.
what
Some of my favorite artists lately have been going live and being like, I never knew that I had to be a business manager, to be a marketer. And she's like, and I have a team for that, but they're looking to be inspired. So I do have to do it all, you know? And it's true. It's a part of the gig that we didn't dream about, but you find, we decided a little while ago, a couple months back, to like shift our mindset and be like, how can we make this fun for ourselves? Like, what can we get out of this experience if we have to do this anyway? Because again, we have unbridled belief in ourselves, sometimes too much. But how can we make this enjoyable? How can we take something from it? Yeah.
Can we talk about the lyrics, some of the songs in comedy?
For sure.
Of course.
Yes. Okay.
I'd be happy to answer them.
Come on.
Yes? Okay.
Yeah, give me a take.
Yeah, I want to talk about the lyrics. Luca, you had said in another interview that the lyrics in comedy, there's a lot of trial and tribulation, youthful artistic endeavors and failures, and there's a romance in all of that failure.
Yeah, I did say that. I wrote it.
You wrote that?
Yeah.
What is the romance that you see in this experience of being a band and the music that you're writing and the struggles, the challenges, the highs?
I think for better or for worse, I romanticize life in general. I think that when I look back on these past 8 years, and maybe this is a good lesson to internalize for myself, is that I don't really remember a shift at the restaurant I work at 7 months ago. But what I remember is playing the Troubadour for the first time as the Scarlet Opera, and the double doors opening and the light flooding and it looking like I came from heaven or hell, your pick. That's what I remember. Those are the things that you hold on to. So life is romantic only if for the fact that our mind tends to remember the good.
Yeah.
And it's best to let go of a 7-hour shift on your feet.
But looking back at those 7 hours, when you're in the 7-hour shift, maybe not so fun, but looking back, you can have an appreciation for.
Yeah, it got you there, right?
Yeah.
And it paid your bills or it got you a drink that night, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, fuck it. Like, do what you have to. I think that's my favorite lyric in Alive is do what you want and get what you can. When I say get what you can, I mean get what you can. Like really grab it and run, babe, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's you. It's you out in this world. Fight for what you believe in.
Yeah, you have to advocate for yourself.
Absolutely.
The song Alive, that reminds me of something else you guys said in the past about how those moments, something about that moment where you're about to go on stage, you're the furthest from death.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing it. I think it was a caption online. But it's like those moments where you're about to go on stage, where you're about to do that
I remember
thing.
Yeah, it was like that.
That's when you're furthest away.
That might have been my quote, actually.
Was that
I never
your-
thought you'd
No, I
be
think
quoting me.
Yeah. No, I remember.
Yeah, I think that was a sentiment we all shared. It's just like success. You're alive. It's all the same thing. Whatever you want to deem living, success, it's those instances. They make the rest better, and that's just where you're the most viscerally like connected to whatever it is that's driving you. For us, it's being on stage. For other people, it might be whatever in the throes of their work, their passion. Like that is it's the same sentiment, truly.
Yeah.
But yeah, for us, it's like we're all nervous before a show, like where we play like to new people. You don't know what they're gonna think. 30 seconds into the song, it doesn't really matter because we're just jamming and having fun. And like you forget, you fall back into that like, you know, just childish mentality of let's just jam, let's just create, let's make music, and the rest will come. And if it doesn't, it's fine.
Somebody said once afterwards, this was like one of my favorite things somebody said post-show was, they were like, you guys look like a bunch of little kid friends in one of your bedrooms. And we're like, it's almost like we're just like, we have a window into you guys like playing around in your room, like playing make-believe. And that's really what it feels like when we click in, like usually like halfway through the first song. It's just kind of like, you know, there's something kind of like childish about it.
It's also not a coincidence. We literally did that for years without an audience. We literally, in my childhood bedroom is like where the band was born, in my mother's house. And for years we couldn't record. We didn't afford to record. We didn't have any means for playing shows. So it was just us in my room playing and kind of doing that. And I guess it hasn't really changed that much except for maybe better outfits.
Wow.
We opened the first segment with the acoustic performance of Big City Thing, right? Big City Thing?
Yes, Big City Thing.
And what is it about those lyrics that are so personal? I love the opening line. I love the line about the putting on my high heels.
Yeah, come on. Wow. No, genetically told me.
About like figuring it out, putting on my high heels. And
I feel like that song is a kind of a short but chronological story of my journey getting to LA, and it deals with a couple of little themes, you know, in each. I love those lyrics because it's like each sentence is a new moment that is formative in your youth, like leaving the house, heading into New York on your own, having like this homeless manic person be like, I used to be like you know, screaming at me. That really that happened when I was like 15, 16 years old, and I won't forget it because they looked fabulous. They truly did. I mean, it was New York, so it was wonderful. But they were screaming at me like, I used to be you, and you better, you know, and you better, you know, watch where you're going, baby, and don't let them hold you down. And I was just like, so I just kept walking with my headphones in. But you know, and it's just these little moments that I remembered that kind of built who I was right before I met the boys, you know. And got to LA. And then and when I finally met these boys in 2015, and I like got in the room with them for the first time thanks to Colin, we played a song that I had written called Skittles, and they were like fleshing out the parts, and I watched them like meticulously working at it. Like they were so excited, and it had just been me excited about my work. Like, you know, grew up in rural PA where you always were kind of like the joke. You were a bit of, you know, and then all of a sudden a group full of 4, you know, boys were like taking what I said seriously and trying to make it their own. And I fell in love. I fell in love with music in a whole new way. So that's the Big City Thing. We already were in that bedroom.
I love the reference to the old queen. I love that reference, and I also love the "Mama, look what you did." What's the exact lyric? Mama, fight all night with me. Are you talking about look at what you did, Mama, look at me? Yeah. Look at what you did, Mama, look at me. I love that.
It's silly.
No, but it's like owning who you are, and yeah.
And we love Sheila.
We do.
We just adore Sheila,
do.
all of us.
It's a nice moment to kind of be like, you know, through all of the turmoil that we had with whatever parts of my identity we had to figure out in my family, like, you know, look at me now, you know, and it's funny to sing that in like a dive bar somewhere, but but they're proud.
Because I love that you've said that like you're just a stupid little clown on stage, and all of a sudden you're saying things that are resonating with people.
Yeah.
Like,
it feels like that. It really does. We have another song on the next EP that's coming out that I'm really, really excited about.
Yeah.
And it has some of my favorite lyrics I've ever written, and it's very like and what will be surreal is the first time when we perform it, because I'm talking about in a more relatable way, but I'm talking about standing there and feeling like the fool and screaming at the walls. Yeah, and I'm really excited to feel what that feels like when we do it live.
I love this reference. I love the operatic references and this kind of like Renaissance, like the fool, like the court gesture, kind of thing. But like there's such a dichotomy between the entertainment aspect of it but then also the lyrics that are resonating with people and kind of the message and the world that you're bringing people into.
Yeah, I think it was unintentional, and it's like, but as I started singing them on stage, especially for this first EP, I mean, it's our first EP out as a band, and like as we were performing, now I'm starting to, with the clown collars and everything, I'm like, oh, this is what it's making me feel like, so let me just continue to lean into that direction, and it just feels better every time to be like, if I'm going to be a joke, then I'm going to be the best damn joke.
We should end on that. We are coming to the end of the show. So for those of you listening on Adobe that didn't catch us from the very beginning, first of all, we went over the 53-minute version that airs on Adobe, but you can catch the full version of this, the full length of the conversation in video on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, anywhere you get your podcast. It is all video. We're linking to your socials on the streaming. For those listening on air, it's the Scarlet Opera everywhere on social media. Particularly like TikTok is super cute. Love the content you guys are posting on TikTok.
Yeah, we're big on threads.
Silly.
Yeah?
No.
I don't think we have.
I've been posting on threads, but
I don't know what it is.
I think people are just like, I don't know.
I'm so tired.
Exactly.
Another
like
one.
another thing.
Yeah.
But you guys have your EP out, Comedy Now, and we in the new song, That Kind of Woman, and you just talked about you have a new EP coming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anything you can tell us about that we should know?
A little bit different of a vibe, and still high energy, still fun, but I think a little bit more vulnerable. And I'm really excited. Really, really excited about this one.
Yeah.
I'm
I think it's our
excited
best
too.
stuff yet.
Yay.
Best stuff yet.
Yeah, best
Yeah,
stuff
for
yet.
real.
Mm-hmm.
Any timeline on that? Can you say yet?
Next year.
Yeah.
Top of next year.
Well, we're going to be eagerly waiting
Lovely.
for it. Yeah.
You and my mother.
Yeah. Oh, I would love. You should record videos when you show her new songs.
With Sheila,
Do you
no,
do
I really
that?
should. She became a bit of a star herself because we called her when I found out about the James Corden show, and she was just like, ah. Anyway. So now people are like, "Where? Tell Sheila."
Show us those moments. Like record them if you want to.
Okay. I will.
You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
when the song is out, and then you could actually show.
Yeah.
Like we as fans would love to see stuff like that.
Noted. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cute.
Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
having
We
us.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was
okay.
great.
We'll see you next time.
Woo, 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 woo. Yay.